Hello, everyone. So thank you for joining for this session. So this session, what we are going to discuss is how we can build a startup from an idea. So if you look at all the major startups in the world, all started from the idea from like Facebook to Twitter to YouTube, like every startup, Microsoft, like startups are starting from a small, simple idea into a giant organizations. So this session, as a part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, we are bringing in to discuss how a startup can be created from the idea stage and how you can expand into the building a really bigger startup, right? So let's get started about the session. So first stage is you need to look at the what kind of a startup that you are going to build. You need to look at the your idea itself, right? Whether there are similar things in the market, right? Whether you are the only one having that idea, right? Because initially we are looking at the idea stage, so we need to look at in the idea level whether you are the only one having this idea or someone else already did it, right? Then if you are doing it, what are the things that's going to be different this time compared to the last time. So initially the research and planning is quite important. So you need to research and need to plan what you are going to build in your startup. So you need to spend a good amount of time doing research and planning. So where you need to plan out what kind of startup I'm going to create, what are the things, how I'm going to execute that, things like that. So we look at the fundamental things in this particular session as a part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, where the first step, starting from idea, of course. So we need to have some sort of idea, what kind of thing you are going to build. Based on that, what we can do is we can do research and planning. So we can research about the topic. We can look at other products that is created based on your idea, whether you are going to create a product that already in the market, then how we are going to compete with that, right? Whether that is not in the market, then it's a really good kind of idea. But if it is already in the market, then you have some challenges because you already have a competitor to look at in the market. So that's why then you need to look at how further I'm going to improve my idea and how we can increase that. So then you can spend some amount of time in research and planning. Once you spend a certain amount of time from research and planning, then what you can do here is you can go to the next step, right? So we can decide like what kind of category this product or service going to come up with. So it could be an e-commerce business, it could be a digital product, freelancing, consulting, social media, marketing. So likewise, there could be different things that you are building. So you need to think or figure it out what kind of thing then you are going to build from that. So it's mostly IT ones we call as digital businesses working with online tools and technologies. So that then you need to decide what kind of business that you are going to create. So in the e-commerce one, it's like selling products. There are many e-commerce platforms out there where you can easily use those platforms and build your own brand. You can create your own unique brand, and then other users around the country or around the world can purchase from that particular items that you are selling. Or you can create your own version of e-commerce site, and then you can sell. So if you look at some example, if you look at like earlier, there was a site called wow.com or .lk. So then it was purchased by Daraz. So likewise, you can create this kind of a e-commerce site, then you can even sell the site after some time. So now you can see you cannot go to wow.lk. It was purchased by Daraz. So likewise, time to time, you can see that different companies coming up with unique ideas, unique products. Then if you look at Daraz, it's coming from the Alibaba platform that is originally from Jack Ma. He is one of the biggest startup founders in the world in terms of e-commerce. Then another site, we have the Amazon, Jeff Bezos. So likewise is Ola e-commerce platforms. Of course, at the day one, we cannot do that because they spend 20, 30 years working on that. So initially, we can build something small and we can continue from that point onward. Then there could be some digital products like e-learning platforms and other digital solutions that you can have. So we also call this as SaaS product, like software as a service. So there are many SaaS products people are using nowadays in terms of like photo editing or doing some certain tasks online. There are a lot of SaaS product for software development as well. And there are a lot of SaaS product for day-to-day activities. Then for HR purposes, you have SaaS products, accounting, finance, a lot of sectors, you have these software as a service product. So you can create this kind of a digital product, and then you can ask user to pay or purchase. So it will be like based on the monthly subscription. Like sites like Netflix use that model where you need to pay a monthly subscription. It could be like $1, $10, some amount. Based on that, every month you will have. So Netflix used a similar model where it have now millions of customers where they charge $7, $9 into millions of users, and they make movies on that budget. So likewise, you can see those are in the massive scale, but we can start small and look at like SaaS platforms where you can easily create like a very basic kind of a product. So in Sri Lankan context, we have like Basha company did some SaaS products that you are going to use every day, like Helakuru platform and mobile app like that, where you have paid and premium versions that you can use based on the usage. So likewise, there are many use cases locally and internationally that you can see. So in terms of internationally, it need to be a really big use case, like you need to have large number of users. But in a locally, if you have thousands of users, then you can consider that. The markets are completely different. The buying habits are different. So what people buy in the certain country, another people, they are not going to buy. So likewise, you need to look at a certain kind of parameters when you are looking at these conditions. You need to look at what are the buying habits, buying patterns of these digital products. And based on that, you need to consider what kind of products that you are going to create. So SaaS is that kind of a model where you can create the product that can be leveraged by the user. So it can be used by millions of people every day. And there's a B2B version of this as well, the SaaS version, where you can sell to enterprise. You can sell to large organizations. You can sell that, and you can get a large, then the licensing cost will be much higher. If you create a SaaS product, you have just $5, $10, like a minimum version. But if you create like a version into the enterprise level, you can charge much more higher amount. So you can see a lot of SaaS platforms, there's enterprise licenses where you can sell for the organization, large organization, and you can get more revenue out of that. Then we have affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is another marketing mechanism that we can sell other product. So the building product is one thing, but apart from that, you need to look at the marketing approaches and how you can do that. Yeah, any question? Can ask. Atuishan, question? Okay, you can also post the question in the chat as well. And the session will be recorded, will be shared in the meetup recording as well. So building the product is one thing, but at the same time, you need to look at different marketing channels, sales and marketing channels, how you can promote your website or service that you are doing. So there are a lot of marketing channels into B2B areas, that there are a lot of marketing kind of channels that we can use to promote that. Then another kind of way is freelancing and consulting is also a business model that we can have. So if you have a certain skill, let's say you are a graphic designer, or you have a certain skill set, you are good with drawing like that, or some kind of a skill, you are good with programming, or you are good with certain type of developments where we can use for freelancing consulting model as well. And that can be also expand into a startup. And you have seen a lot of stories like a Fiverr related startups. They have built from a couple of Fiverr project, and they then hire a couple of employees and expand like that. So that's also a different model. So there are a lot of things that we can do in the freelancing consulting space that is based by the contract that you have. So you need to have some sort of skill to master within that, where based on that could be graphic designing, video editing. These are some of the common things that we can work in the freelancing space. And then writing skills. If you have a good writing skills, that can be also used really good. This is in high demand, especially the content writing space, where you can write a certain content, document, things like that, technical documentations, things like that. Because you can find a lot of developers, but you cannot find many writers, many video editors or drawing artists like that. So those are some of the things, other kind of skill set that you can develop. And these are different avenues I'm showing. That means any person, individual person cannot have all these things. It's just one different avenues that I'm showing at. So only a certain one or two, or maybe one, they can master, and they can scale that into the certain level. But these are different avenues that I'm showing how your idea can be scaled and how the idea can be going into the next level. Then we can also have social media based businesses. So like things like brand partnership, brand campaigns. You have seen a lot of companies are monetizing based on the social media. So where we can have certain kind of brand partnership with organizations to promote their brands, PR activities, things like that in the digital marketing space. So where you need to use social media marketing, and you need to also spend on these social media channels to monetize. So one thing is you can monetize your product that you are doing, or you can also provide this as a service. So there's always two avenue, product and service. So product is something you build from an idea. Then you need to do all the things, marketing on that, sales on that, sales, finance, everything on that product, right? Then you can increase the number of users of the product. But if you do services, it's different, where every time you need to have a contract, you need to provide the service repeatedly every time. So both have a good model. There are use cases for both scenarios. In Sri Lanka also, there are companies doing both models, large-scale product companies and large-scale service companies. Like Virtusa is like a large-scale service company. And then we have 99Next is a large-scale product company. IFS is also a large-scale product company. So we can have the both models based on what you are comfortable with and what you are looking at as the business model for your startup. So we need to identify the market. Then based on that, you need to do the competitor research and the market research and the customer survey. So we need to do all these things to identify your market. Without knowing your target market, your target reach, doing this is quite risky. Why? Because once you do this, only you get to know what kind of challenges you are going to face, right? Entrepreneurship is always about challenges, how we can manage the challenge. Even though you did this, still, I wouldn't say that you are not going to face challenges. Still, you're going to face challenges. But this is a kind of a standard practice, because let's say there's another kind of a user product that already doing the same thing for a lower cost, then the chances of people buying your product is quite low, right? Just imagine like the favorite product you are buying and the second favorite one you are going to buy. So you always choose the first favorite one, right? Because of the quality, because of the brand, or because of the price. So these are different things that you look at. So it's same when you are going to sell a product or service, it's going to also the same. So you need to look at your competitors, you need to look at the market you are in. It could be in Sri Lanka or different country. You need to look at the customer surveys. Customers are satisfied with the service or the product that you are providing. So all the things you need to look at, you need to consider when you are building your idea into a startup, right? So sometimes you can purchase these researchers as well, or sometimes you can do some additional research and then you can expand on this as well, right? So it's based on how you prefer to do it, but at least a little bit of research you need to do before going into a startup and startup idea, because there's a chance of failure of the startups as well. So that's why if you want to be success on your startup, you need to do some research and see what are the success models, who are the other competitors working on that. You need to do that research as well. Based on that, you can build further into your startup. So the competitor research is identifying the competitors and the customers who are going to use the product. So like if you look at as any product, let's say chat product, what is the best software out there and what is the second competitor out there, what is the third competitor. Then let's say you are also creating a chat product, you need to beat all these first, second, third, all these competitors, right? Otherwise, you need to provide something that they don't provide, right? So that is the product definition, right? So you need to create a product that's superior to other, or you need to have something unique in that product that doesn't offer in the other product space, right? So if you look at a common thing, so that's why if you create a product that is common, like a HR solution, like the inventory management system, those are now you can find anywhere, right? There are thousands of providers can develop and sell these things. So that's why your idea for the product that you are implementing, building, need to be unique in a way that can be attractive by thousands of customers. Otherwise, you might have initial some purchases, but you are not able to scale that up with over the time. So that's why you need to identify the competitors, market conditions, things like that. Because all the companies who are actually in the number one space on any of the product, let's say HR, for example, then they are doing this, right? They are looking at always their competitors. They are looking at always the market, what are the changes, what are the ways that they can make this strategy. So likewise, you need to also figure it out. So initially at the early stage, it will be a lot of things I can assume, but these are some of the things that helps you in the long run when you are building your startup. And getting investments also quite important. So initially it could be your own money or like your friends and family kind of cash you are putting into your startup. Then you need to look at whether what kind of investment you are going to look at, whether you are going for some kind of investment arm, sorry, the venture capitalist like that, what kind of investment that you are going to have. So those also you need to decide. But in this session, we are not going in deep in those areas. We look at how idea can be built into a viable startup. Then market research, another area. So you need to look at market research. And let's say you are creating a product for Sri Lanka, then do not download the market research in US because you are not create a application in the US market. You are creating in the Sri Lanka market. Similarly, the market you are in, you need to research on that because each of the market is unique, right? Because there are people are different, culture is different, likewise. So then the market you are in, you need to analyze the market behavior and analysis based on that. So you need to identify what kind of market. So it not necessarily need to be Sri Lanka. It could be a different country or different region in the world. That's perfectly fine because we are doing this online. So that means it can reach any person in the world. So you can target any country, any region in the world. That is fine. But you need to do some initial research and you need to plan out these things before actually you are building up the startup. Then the customer survey, what other customer says about the particular similar product, because you already didn't build anything. What other customer says about the product similar to you that you are going to develop, whether they are satisfied, whether there are any issues that they are looking, whether they are looking for new features. So customer surveys are quite important that provide a lot of insight into a solution or what kind of a product or service that they are requiring. Because if the customers are already satisfied in that product, then no point of ultimately creating that product. Let's say you try to create an office package. So, Microsoft Office is the number one software. You try to create an office package like that, and you try to sell it. So it's a high competitive market because even other companies bigger like Google, Apple, they didn't even create Office package. They can easily do that, but they didn't create that. Why? Because they already have the market capitalization and the market lead. So that's why we need to look at who are the competitors, who are the market players in that, especially in the product sector, not in the service side. The product side, you need to look at all these things, whether you have a similar competition in the region, what is your target market. In the SaaS space, you need to look at much broader because you are targeting individual users. In the B2B space, you are targeting customers like companies. Then you can get the customer service on companies. But the SaaS, software as a service space, you are using customers, so the individual person. So it will be a person who already purchased a product, right? So likewise, you need to look at what is your ideal customer look like, right? So whether even you are going to buy your own product, right? That's the first thing you need to ask, right? So I build this product, whether I'm going to buy my product, right? So whether your friends going to buy your product. So if they don't buy, then there's something wrong with the product, right? So you need to improve those things in the product development, right? So there need to be a reason the people to purchase because they are paying in certain currency, it could be LKR or US dollar. So then there need to be a certain value that you are going to add into your product. So it also apply for services as well. It's again, you need to provide the value. For example, like let's say you are earning 1,000 rupees, then you need to do work related to 1,500 rupees, right? So there's a value, you need to give 1,500 rupees to earn 1,000 rupees, right? So likewise, you need to provide a certain value. So all the products or services we purchase, even simple things like buying a fried rice, right? So there's a certain value you think that this particular rice offers compared to a competitor, right? So likewise, that's apply for anything, every business, because even those shops are, they are doing a business. So likewise, you need to think like that. So what's your target customer? How you are going to attract your target customer and how they are going to pay ultimately like that. Because if they are not going to pay and you are just going to build the softwares, then ultimately you cannot survive longer because you need to ultimately get revenue, cash flow, then only you can pay your salaries and your employee salaries to build a startup. But if you are not getting any payments or any, no one is paying you, then the startup runaway is quite a shorter time, right? So that's why you need to look at all the startups that getting into that level, they pass that barrier points and they have continuous customers coming in for their service, no matter what situation in the country or the economy is in, customers are coming in to the platform. Then this is also kind of optional thing, business plan, but business plan writing helps you to attract investors as well and also have a clear vision of what you are going to do. Sometimes because you need to have some professional help to write a business plan in terms of writing content, but it also clears down what you are going to actually create because everything initially the idea will be in your head, right? You know what to do, how to do it, and what are the things to do. But writing a business plan helps you to put down in a written format, right? You can share with the investor, even you can share with the bank. So some banks are offering certain loans for starting companies, entrepreneurship kind of loans. Then of course you need to have business plan to show them. Then only they will offer a certain kind of a loans for the businesses. So without business plan, you cannot go for financial institutes and get loans. But for investors, what you need is like a pitch deck, like a presentation deck to get investments. But business plans helps you to set up all the things in a certain format, right? So where you have a clear idea, a clear picture, what you are going to build, right? Because otherwise everything in your head that we have, then you can also show other team members or other colleagues, other friends, family. This is what we are going to create. And of course, that can change over the time. That's not the issue, but this is what we are going to create. And this is how I'm going to do that, right? So all the steps are there in the business plan document, and it can change over the time. Like Microsoft first create the DOS operating system, but they are not now, they are not creating DOS right now, right? So likewise, you need to change with the time frame like that, and you need to maybe roll back, or you need to change with the market condition. So Facebook invested in metaverse, and now they are rolling back and going back to the basics. So likewise, depend on the market conditions, they are changing, and we call as pivot. We are pivoting, and then what we are doing here is ultimately find the optimal model to achieve the really good result. So in the market business plan, you can see you can have the concept, strategy, product offering, definition, demography. So these are some of the things, and financial needs, how much I need to build this startup, right? How much cash I need to create my startup and run the company for 1 year. So what is the minimum amount that you need? Then how many team members, all these things you need to consider when you are building your startup and you are building your team, right? So that's a different kind of approach, the traditional approach that we used to, like from our education for A levels to university, we get to go into a field of job, like working in a job field. But entrepreneurship is quite a different role from that, where you are providing employment for others, right? So there you are providing employment for others, right? So that you create new jobs for the other community and the country and the world overall. So you are creating new things as well. If you look at new products, these are completely new things that comes out of that. Let's say YouTube, that comes out the for that initial founder, then he sell that product into the Google company. Then now YouTube is, is a $billion company. They earn revenue and much more like a higher end, but initially that's come from an idea. So likewise, it can disrupt our daily nature. So even Zoom tool that we are using is like that. It also comes that person who create a Zoom work in another telecommunication video conferencing related company. Then he quit the company and he built this product on his own before COVID. And during the COVID, this tool getting more popular, and now is a $billion company in the stock market as well. It's just one software. So if you look at Zoom itself, the tool that we are using, it's just one software. That's it, right? But it's the software worth now over, I think, 300 billion US dollars. So likewise, that is just the idea that gets started and building into a world-class products. So if you look at Zoom now, in the world now, everyone knows about the Zoom. That is the brand awareness. Everyone, maybe you are joining as a Zoom, or you are creating Zoom. So likewise, many people are using. So then it becomes a major product or service in the world. Then you can develop your product and service. So you need to identify what are the things I need. So what kind of resources, skill set I need. Of course, you do not create a thing that out of the world, right? So then it cannot see anything like a daylight in anytime soon. So create something simple, something feasible, something achievable in a short amount of time, like this. Then you can also build your brand, right? So for that product, you need to build a brand. For the company, also you need to build your brand. So you need to set up what kind of brand that you are going to create. So then brand related activities you need to do. You need to increase your brand awareness. You need to build your brand. So your brand could be the software or the company, product or the company. So in the Zoom, the brand is the Zoom, not the company, right? The brand is a Zoom. You don't know about the Zoom company itself, but you know about the brand, which is software product, which is Zoom, right? Then Facebook is the product, that is the company. So likewise, you can build the brand based on the product. So it takes time. a lot of awareness, a lot of years, because building a brand, if you look at brands in Sri Lanka, those are the popular brands. They took many years. That's a different process we call as branding to promote or create your own kind of a brand. And you need to do a lot of marketing activities also to build your brand. In the long run, it's going to be really valuable. So Sri Lankan context, there are a lot of examples like Odell is a brand. They have sell that to SoftLogic. So it's like because of the brand value is sometimes going to be higher than the product itself. Coca-Cola is another example. The brand value is higher than the actual Coca-Cola drink, like that. So there are brands in the world that much higher value than the actual product. So there are a lot of use cases in the world. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, all these brands are brand value itself much higher than the actual product, right? So the brand value itself is in billions of dollars. Odell also a situation like that where Odell brand is really value. So then they got the chance, the founder got a chance to sell that to the SoftLogic company. So likewise, you need to build a brand as well. So brand have a different value, different thing. So if you look at a certain item you purchase, you have a certain brand that you use, right? So the brand have a certain value. If it is a meeting, we are going to use Zoom, so Teams. If it is operating system, we are going to use Windows or Mac, right? If it is social media, we are going to use Facebook or something else. So likewise, sometimes you have monopoly. So there's no other brand to compete. Then you call as a monopoly. So likewise, you can build a brand value. So brand itself have a certain value associated with that. It takes some time. So you need to have a logo design with a professional designer, and then you can build your brand effectively. So all the things matters when you are building a startup from the idea to a building into a brand. So I have covered several steps of how you can create your own version of a startup in order to each of these things. Here you can see in terms of building a brand, you need to have a logo. So you need to create a unique logo. Again, you cannot create a logo that's already there. So you cannot put Coca-Cola and just change the C into D and change different words. So you cannot do that because there are copyrights within the brands. So you cannot use existing logos of existing brand and change that and do that. Then it will be a huge conflict. So you cannot do that. You need to create your own brand. You need to decide your own colors in website, business cards, maybe t-shirt, packaging you can use. So likewise, you need to build all these things from scratch. The startups is just starting from one person. Even if you look at companies like Microsoft, it start from Bill Gates and another colleague, Apple also same. But those are now $1 trillion company, not billion into trillion. So likewise, the brands are like that, and the initially everything start from the mindset, right? Start from an idea. If you look at any company in the world, start from the idea because they are not a company initially, right? It's starting from someone person's idea to start a certain product or service. So that's why everything start from the idea. Then it's all about execution, how you execute and how you build your service or product. Then you can also trademark or license your services as well. You can create a certain trademark and the licenses for the product or service that you are creating. That's also a quite important factor. So you can do a trademark. So then you can build a website. So it could be a website that you can build. So you can build a website that for the site that you are creating. So it could be a standard website that you can create. So it's important. It need to be responsive. Whether if you are creating an e-commerce site, you need to make purchases in that. How you can make purchases in the e-commerce site. Then keep the design on the brand. So you need to focus on the brand and the product that you are creating. Then based on that, you can build more capabilities on top of that, right? Imagine you can research on some of the brands. So you can research the brands that already succeeded in Sri Lanka, and you can also research the brand that is succeeded in the world. Then you can research how they did that, what is the things that they have spent. Of course, some are spending a lot of in terms of branding. So that as a startup is not possible. So we need to look at in a different ways that a startup can achieve in a startup level, how you can design and build your brand like that, right? Then legal side of forming business. So once those product initial, now we have idea, we did the research, we set up initial marketing, we develop initial prototype. So now we have some idea of what we are going to build. We have a website, right? So now also you need to take care of the business legal side of things, because let's say you and your friend start working on the product, and your friend just copy your code and then set up his own business. Initially, it won't be that much of a problem, is that software not going to make any money. But if the software actually going to make money, then there's be a problem. Of course, there are a lot of scenarios, use cases internationally. Also, you can get a lot of documentation and videos about that. For example, Google Maps was initially from like a simple developer, then Google somehow able to copy it and get it like that. So likewise, there are a lot of stories behind that. So that's why you need to then copyright and protect what you are developing, right? Because it's called intellectual property, IP. What you are building is there's ownership associated with that, where you cannot copy someone else's code and build that. Also, you need to create that from scratch. And once you create that, it's owned by that. It could be the person or the organization. So it's a own property of the organization. So here, that's why the legal side of things. In Sri Lanka, we cannot find much legal cases in terms of software licenses, but in international market, there are a lot of legal cases. If Apple try to copy something from Android, Android try to copy something from Apple, then there are legal issues in that. So that's why we need to set up form an organization, could be private limited. Then we can make this everything official. And then after that, you can register a name and then set up the company, and then all the services or the product that you are creating will be based on that brand and company. So you can have legal documents set up in that. So it will be a registered company. In could be in Sri Lanka or any other place, where you need to pay separate taxes on the organization. So organization considered as a separate entity. So it's not you. You are part of the organization, but it's not you. It's a separate entity, like a separate person. It's called as a separate entity, where you can legally set up the company, and then you can start looking at those areas. So once you set up a company, it's a different process. Like you have things like administrative things, HR things, finance things, legal things you need to take care about also, because that is how you can scale out. Because in a single person, there are limits, right? You cannot ask your friend. Initial stage is fine. Like you can ask your friend and friend's friend to work on the idea. But once you grow in the team, you cannot do that. You need to build a company, and then you need to hire staff, things like that. And you need to look at the legal stuff, accounting, finance, HR, all these areas in terms of company setup. And also company will have a separate bank account where you can do all the transaction into the bank account. So any revenue you are getting is not you are getting into your personal account, you'll be getting into your bank account. So from the company itself, what you can get is a director fee or salary that you can get. So you have some financial control with the organization. So we call that directors, and we can have board meetings, things like that. So where you have a certain control. So once you set up these kind of things, investors can come also into that. So investors won't invest into you like personally, like they don't put money into your personal account, but they will invest into companies, right? So they will get some percentage out of it, could be 10%, 20%. Then they will invest certain amount of money into your business. Then they will also be part of your business, but you get to execute all the decisions from you. And again, you can hear a lot of stories like investors comes in, and then sometimes owner is not anymore. They have fired, like the real recent example, like Twitter. you can see Elon Musk bought the company for $44 billion US. Then the original founder, Jack Dorsey, he was fired, or like he just get out, I think, before that. Then there was another CEO, he was also fired. So likewise, the original founders are not there at the end. Then the company is there. So company is like a different entity. So in the Twitter's case, you can see the original founder not there at anymore, right? In the Microsoft case, Bill Gates also now not actively looking at Microsoft. It's a separate company, but he owns some shares of that, but he doesn't execute day-to-day activities. It's just a small percentage of his work at the moment. So likewise, it's going to go into a bigger company, maybe with the original founders or maybe without it. Is how you plan out and how you scale it, right? But ultimately, you might need investors also to scale at some stage, because even though the final stage of the startup could be going into investment and then also like listing in stock market. If you look at great tech product out there, final stage of that is stock market, where in the stock market, the public can also invest in the company. So that is where the Apple and Microsoft went to $1 trillion companies, because of the influence from the stock market. Otherwise, it's not possible to reach that level of value into the company. So that's why you need to set up everything in place. You need to set up everything correctly, and it's not like a linear line, like you are doing a job and after the job you are going to the next job and senior position. It's not like that. There's no not any story of a startup having just a straight line. It's just a lot of ups and downs, everything together that you need to have in your startup when you are building that. So as a part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, we were discussing these things, how you get started, how you plan everything before you are launching and before you are setting up. So there are a few other sessions will be there this week as well. You can check the official web page, which is Global Entrepreneurship Week, and you can also join into our startup hub as well and our community to take part of these valuable sessions. And we are looking forward to have more sessions like that in the future as well. So in a summary, you can see you can initially come up with the idea, and that can be built into a bigger billion-dollar startup. But it's a long journey, and you need also support from your family and team members, your friends, to do that. And along the way, there are a lot of success stories and, of course, fail stories as well. Not every startup is a success. So you need to also read about stories that fail stories as well. Then you can get a better understanding on how these startups can be built and sustained over the long run. Because it's a long journey. It's not like 1 year, January we start the startup, December we stop the startup. It's not like that. It's a long journey that you need to plan out from the idea stage to building the startup. So thank you everyone for joining this session. We'll be sharing the recording as well, and looking forward to seeing you again in another session like this. Thank you.